Sean, thank you very much for joining us today. You are the chair and the CEO of Osisko Development. You're also the founder of the Osisko Group of Companies, and you and your team have done a great job in creating shareholder value with many of your companies being acquired over the years. Why don't you take us through a couple of the larger acquisitions?
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks very much, Jimmy, and thanks to all your viewers for keeping the faith, and hopefully we can tell a good resource story today. And we're very optimistic about where we're headed with this. And the Osisko platform has been around. We founded it essentially in 2003 with the acquisition of the Canadian Malartic project for $88,888 from a bankruptcy sale, which founded Canada's largest gold mine, the Canadian Malartic mine, which we went on to build and permit. And we built the permit in 2009, built it and finished it in 2011. We got put into a hostile by Goldcorp in 2014. We sold that company to a joint venture between Yamana and Agnico for $4.1 billion. With that, we created a spin-co called Osisko Gold Royalties. It's still around right now, called OR on the New York Stock Exchange. As the founding CEO and chairman of that. We took that company from an IPO of $500 million with one producing royalty to a $5 billion royalty company, now the fourth largest royalty company in the world. And that company is very active right now. And I think, probably it's top, I think it's number 4 royalty company in the precious metal space worldwide. So Franco, Wheaton, and Royal Gold, and then us. Then we spun out several, what we call our accelerator companies, which we incubated companies and took royalties in the early days. And we created about 19 companies from that platform. The most recent one was Osisko Mining 2. We sold that to Gold Fields in November for $2.1 billion. We also created Osisko 3, which is a project that's located near Canadian Malartic. And that's being sold to Agnico right now for about $400 million. And I'm currently focused on ODV, Osisko Development Corporation, ODV on the NYSE. And we've got 2 main projects, the Caribou Gold Project in central BC near Prince George, BC. We just received a 5,000 ton a day mining permit, an environmental permit for that project. So that's Canada's next big gold mine build. And we also have a project in Utah in that one that we're drilling for a copper porphyry that we hope is a Bingham lookalike, about 40 miles south of Bingham, in a place called Tintic, with Robert Friedland on our southwest border with Ivanhoe Electric, Freeport to the south. So pretty excited about that. The drills are turning again, which always makes me happy. And then, and we have a couple other projects in there. Within the platform, we also have Osisko Metals, which has the Gas Bay Copper Project that was previously a Noranda mine. It's about 1.5 billion tons at 0.36 historic mine site. They also have the Pine Point project in the Northwest Territories, silver lead zinc mine that's advancing. Within the lithium space, we have a couple other companies within the group, BRW, and things that have quite a bit of exposure to the lithium market, and about 6 or 7 different discoveries in that space. We also have Falco Resources, which has the Horn 5 mine in the project. So we've created quite a few projects over the years. We're at about 140 million ounces in total discoveries. We've raised collectively about $3.6 billion in equities. And our market cap of all of our companies combined is now past $12 billion. So we're a pretty active group. We've had the ability to stay in business for close to 20 years now. We really started in 2003, so it's we've stood the test of time with our business models, and our specialty is what I would call brownfield exploration, where we go into brownfield camps, consolidate historic data, try to put a new spin on it. We led the charge in terms of open pit, low grade bulk tonnage mining in Canada, with Canadian Malartic being the big mine that's now part of Agnico. That mine produces between 650 and 750,000 ounces a year. 9th largest mine in the world. So that we're focused on these world-class assets and these historic mining camps. That's really our business plan. The most recent one is the Caribou Gold Project in BC, which we can get into as well. And that's sort of what gets us to where we are today, Jimmy.
That's a great overview. And as you mentioned, we're here today to talk about Osisko development, and the primary project is the Caribou Gold Project. Why don't we just start with a very high level of this project, and then we'll take it from there.
So currently, the resource is 2 million ounces in drilled reserves and another 3.3 million ounces in measured and indicated and inferred, at a grade of about 3.78 grams in the reserves and about 3.6 grams in the inferred category. This is a classic Osisko story. This was a mining camp since 1858. When the first discovery was made, at one point in time, it was the largest city north of San Francisco. And it's the reason that British Columbia was picked up in the consolidation of the Confederation of Canada, is because they thought there was too many Americans coming out of the California 49er gold rush, moving to BC. If they didn't include BC, that there was going to be a problem here. So that's the lineage of it. It's produced about 4 million ounces historically. We went back in with a new plan in 2016. We couldn't understand the geological model that had been historically on it, which was the same case as what happened to us in Canadian Malartic. When we got there, we realized that nobody had actually tried to understand the genetics of these deposits and why we're there, and nobody was really focused on the effects of the low-grade bulk tonnage model. So we got involved at that time and consolidated a project, a permit there of about 2,000 square kilometers, or about 500,000 acres. So this is a mining camp that we're working on. The 2023 feasibility study was the first piece, down to a depth of about 1,000 feet or 350 meters. And we drilled 800,000 meters, and we generated the overall resource of 2 million reserves and 3.3 in resource. And we averaged about 15 to 22,000 ounces per vertical meter over a strike length of about 4.6 kilometers. We drilled the deposit down to 1,000 meters, but not in enough detail to hang a resource on it. But we know that the genetics of this thing is an orogenic system. It goes well past 1,000 meters. So you guys can do the math at 50, so every 100 meters we've gone down in this thing, we've generated between 1.5 and 2.2 million ounces in total resource. So it's a pretty interesting piece of geology. It's somewhat unique. It's in the Younger Age rock, so it's outside of the traditional Archean greenstone belts. It's in the Jurassic Age rock, so it took us a bit of time to unwind the geological story behind this. And when we looked at what the old timers were mining, they were mining these high grade replacement zones that would average between 15 and 20 grams. But they're a lot like chocolate chips in the cookie. They're very hard to predict where they will be, and very difficult to drill from surface. And historically, where the success came was the old timers were able to drift around and look for these things from the underground. We went in with a much more different plan. We looked at the actual structures, and there's an accordion style mineralization along this fracture on a big anticline. So the crust is folded up and this thing is cracked open. We've been able to develop that model to the point where we were able to predict it. The continuity of the grade was there. And within these fractures that you get, and they repeat about every 8 to 9 meters along the strike length of this thing. And there's a harmonic of about every 1.5 kilometers where you see this anticline, then you have the synclinal structure, the anticlinal structure. So we drilled it out over 4.6 kilometers. So we're averaging about 1.2 million ounces per linear kilometer of strike length, and then about 1.5 million ounces per vertical meter in that strike length. So it's a big system. We also, when we looked at this, we said, well, we're not going to be able to do what the old timers did, which is to do narrow vein mining on this. This has to be a highly mechanized operation, and I'm a bulk tonnage guy. As I like to say, I like my deposits like me, kind of big a dump. Where we can focus on the mechanization efficiencies, and we can run a fairly green mine in terms of being able to use a lot of electrical energy in the mine to actually do the mining and development work. So we've worked on that plan. We published the feasibility study in 2023. We're doing an updated one for this year. The strategy that we took on back in 2019 was we needed to get the permit. So we applied for the EA certificate and the mining permit in 2019. We received the EA certificate in October 2023. And for everybody in this space that knows the game, there are two types of projects in this sector right now. The projects with permits and all the rest. So this one transitioned to the mine with permits in November of 2024. So we received our EA certificate fall 2023, and then a bit later we received the final mining permit and the environmental permit for this mine just after the NDP election win in BC. So a call out to the NDP government for being active and getting that permit to us. It was their first active business as a new government in the fall. They formed the government on Monday, appointed the ministers on Tuesday, and we got our permit on Wednesday. So that's pretty good commitment from the current BC government, and I think they're moving up the list of the Fraser Institute in terms of investability for BC. There's an awful lot of potential in BC, so we're pretty happy to be there, and we think this is, it's always been a great jurisdiction for mining, but I think the bureaucracy and the permitting is being tamed. They've gone to a single wicket approach, and this is the next big project to be built in Canada, most recently permitted. So it's about a 750 million Canadian dollar mine built to go to 5,000 tons a day, which will produce somewhere between 180 and 220,000 ounces a year over a period of 10 years. The exploration upside here is at depth. We've got the deposit. We know it goes down to at least 1,000 meters. We've only done detailed drilling to 350 because of these vertical structures. It's hard to drill them from surface. It's much easier to be drilling from underground as we progress down at a steeper angle to hit these things at a more oblique, more perpendicular angle. So this is a mining camp in my view, and the reason that I'm putting my time in right now, I do have a nice cottage that I could be hanging out at, but my passion is wealth creation at the drill bit. And exploration, and we've been very successful in terms of finding these projects. And internally we call this one the Canadian Malartic, the underground version. It's a project that a lot of people have opinions about from the past, but we've done the new science to it. And I always say to everybody, if you haven't looked at the database since we drilled it, we put 800,000 meters of brand new drilling into this thing, looking for the bulk sample aspect of the project as opposed to these historic high grade chocolate chips in a cookie. And we've been able to unwind the story in a way that it hasn't been unwound before. Much like we went to Canadian Malartic, everybody talked it down. We never raised any money for that project in Montreal or Toronto back in the day because everybody said 1 gram in Quebec wouldn't work. It's now Canada's largest gold mine, 9th largest gold mine in the world. And Agnico just announced another 16 million ounces at it. So it's a total, that deposit is now 30 million ounces. So that's the business that we are in, is to think outside the box, get going, do real science, and then get in and drill prove it with a truth machine. And as you know, Jimmy, we have the internal policy at Osisko. It's called SUDS, which stands for Shut Up and Drill Stupid. So, that's where we live. That's where we've made shareholders money.
Sean, you mentioned that you did a feasibility study in 2023, but you're working on another one now. Why?
We're doing an optimized, updated feasibility. A few reasons. We've made some strides in terms of our metallurgical recoveries. In terms of additional work, the process we're using is the ore sorter, which is a fairly passive technology, if you will. I mean, you're just taking an X-ray of it, and it goes off the end of a conveyor, and there's a little pneumatic air valve that, if it's depending on how you want to select it, it's a piece of waste rock. It gives a little shot of air, and it pushes it in over another divider. So we get about a 50% upgrading grade. So we're coming in at sort of 3 to 4 grams. We'll be coming out at sort of 6 to 8 grams at the other end, and that's but it costs us about $1.50 a ton to do that process. And it's just the X-ray doesn't touch the actual material, and then it goes off the bin. And we use a sizing laser as well, an optical sizer, not for color scanning, but just to size the particles. And the advance in technology there has been the algorithm to process that information in real time, make decisions before the material gets to the end of the belt, and do the selection there. So that material, we're doing a big test. We're sending that to Saskatchewan, to the Saskatchewan Research Institute, to do the optimized ore sorter development with a company called Tomara. There's 2 big ore sorter companies in the world, Steinhardt and Tomara. We've gone with Tomara for this one. And then in terms of our other update, is we've been able to install a gravity circuit and increase the efficiency of our flotation circuit. So we're looking to be able to produce a gravity con. Before we didn't have one. Now we're looking at sort of 25% of our material being treated just with gravity, which is a very low cost and very effective way to do things. Mostly sort of a Falcon or Nelson concentrator level. And the other thing is a flotation concentrate, which allows us to produce. Originally, we thought we were going to produce about a 28 gram a ton concentrate, and from 5,000 tons, we would sort of have around 500 to 700 tons a day of concentrate. By increasing the flotation, we're able to reduce the number of tons of concentrate we're producing a day, and also increase the grade of that concentrate. So we're targeting to be somewhere between the 100 and 200 gram a ton concentrate, which allows us to take all those sulfides out with the flotation circuit, which means that we have a super clean tail, and that'll go back underground as backfill. So we've been able to optimize the mining sequence and sync it up with the new flotation test work that we've done, as well as the gravity work. That combined with the overall met package, including the optimization with the evolution of the algorithms and the CPU units, and the ore sorter, it required an update to the feasibility to take advantage of these pieces of progress. So I think it's a pretty exciting time for us. It's going to be a very clean mine, very green mine, and we're looking to be electrified as many ways as we can. So this is a highly mechanized mine, so we'll be able to use battery operated and electric trucks for haulage. A lot of our equipment, the road header is fully electric, hydraulic, and it mines about 2.5 meters stationarily and just grinds away, and push a button, it does 2.5 meters of mining when things are going well.
And in terms of the timeline to production, okay, so you got your permits, you're waiting on the bulk sample results, which should be out in Q1 or Q2. What's the best case scenario in terms of production?
Right now it's 2027. We'll have some, evolution where we have all the permits that we need to go mining right now. So subject to project financing, which is what we're working on now, that'll be one of the next big milestones. And we've got the bulk sample is underway, but we've got 1,200 meters of underground development in place. We've got access to about 20 vein corridors from the underground now, which is great to actually be in the ore body, and we'll be able to bring a lot of people there in the next sort of 2 to 3 months. In terms of showing people this. There was a lot of skepticism about this project in the past, because nobody could get the results that we got, because they were drilling all over the place, and there was no continuity. We didn't figure it out. It took us 3 years of science to figure out what we were actually looking for, and to step away from looking for these sort of chocolate chip style deposits that are all throughout it, and go and focus on the bulk tonnage aspect of it. So project financing will be a big catalyst to how fast we can develop that. And also we're drilling from the underground now, which allows the angle of attack to be much more efficient. We can hit 5-10 of these things per drill hole now. So we increase the number of intercepts with the actual vein corridors, which allows us to convert ounces very quickly. So we've got 2 million ounces of reserve category right now. We're looking to do more detailed drilling on the other 3.3 million ounces. And we're assuming some sort of between a 60 and 70% conversion rate on those other 3 million ounces. So with that infill work, the goal would be to get this thing to 3.5, 4 million ounces of mineral reserve within the next 12 to 18 months. And that would set the stage for, saying hello to 5,000 tons a day and hopefully going past it.
Well, that's a great overview.
The caveat on that is we're going to have to increase our permitting as we do that, but our footprint's in place already, so it's really just about increasing the permitting for the underground. So that's a bit of an overview of it. We think this is going to be an important asset. In terms of where this fits in the food chain of things that a big company would like to own, it's a lot like Canadian Malartic. Once we built it, it became very popular until we. If you looked at it in 2009, before we financed the 2009 financing, we probably had a market cap of $400 or $500 million. And we ended up selling it for $4.1 billion in 2014. So our goal is to get through the so-called Lassonde curve, and at the other end, I think we're very much near the end of it now. We've achieved permitting. We've got, the reserve base is good. The amount of drilling that we've done there, we also, when it comes to, if we're going to mine, you say drill twice, mine once, and if you get it backwards, it's not good. Um, as we've seen, the biggest problem with underground mine is lack of drilling, lack of resource definition, and lack of mine planning. We're pretty good at that part, and we're relatively conservative compared to most, I think, when it comes to reserve and mine plan. We built Canadian Malartic. We put 1.8 million meters of drilling into that, and to this day, I mean, we're almost at the end of the open pit now. It reconciled at plus 3% off of our original drill resource after all these years of mining. So we poured gold in 2011, and it's 2025 now, and still running a positive reconciliation from our original drill work.
You sold that for 4.2 billion?
4.1 billion.
What do you think it would be worth today?
Well, right now it's 16 million ounces with a 25,000 ton a day head frame sitting on top of it and a 55,000 ton a day mill. And they just got another discovery. When we sold it, there was 13.8 million ounces of indicated resource in total. And we had the Odyssey discovery, which turned out to be 16 million ounces. So, I would say that conservatively, and it's producing around 650, 700,000 ounces a year. Conservatively, that's about a $15 to $20 billion market cap right now.
Do you think you have another Malartic Caribou?
We certainly do. Yeah, once we crack the code and prove to everybody that we're not as crazy as everybody likes to think we are sometimes. Sometimes there's two types of crazy wrong and crazy right. We've been crazy right more than once. If you look at the stuff that we've done, most of the things that we've touched on have been mines. And if you look at the original Osisko group, a lot of the things that we did in our past turned out to be mines. So we've been to the playoffs. We know what it takes to win the Stanley Cup. And you got to skate every shift, and you can never take anything for granted. But we're pretty happy with where we are in this one. And look forward to getting a lot of sort of the smarter analysts and more technical people to site and show them the underground now that we're actually in the ore body, and we can showcase what we were seeing from the drilling. The bulk samples are going to be indicative of that area, and we'll get a good feel for it. We've got a good feel for the mining costs now, ground conditions, geotech. We've been sort of managing risk one piece at a time. I'm a Hillbury School of Mines mining guy, so I think in terms of ore and waste and dollars per ton. That's the way we live our lives, and this story has gotten better, not worse. And the telltale for me always, and when I start drilling off deposits, is okay. We drilled this thing on a 100-meter grid, then we reduced to a 50-meter grid. Did the grade go up or down? And then we tighten up to 25-meter grid. Did it go up or down again? In this case, every time we've drilled tighter, the grade has gone up. So that makes me feel good. When we originally drilled Canadian Malartic, we had a resource grade of about 0.8. The tighter drilling, we got to 1.03 grams. So it was almost an increase of 20% of grade with tighter drilling. We've seen similar results here. So those are, primary indicatives for a guy like me who spends his day geeking out over mine reserve plans. And that's kind of the way we think about it. And at the end of the day, it's dollars per ton. Gold has performed very well. We're now at 26.70 an ounce, I think. So which is roughly $100 Canadian a gram. So this thing's between 3.5 and 4 grams after capping. So this was pretty good rock. It's $350 to $400 rock. It's in that zone, and most underground mines right now are mining. It's long hole are mining between $80 and $100 a ton. So this is pretty good numbers on this thing, and it's why we saw the ASIC around $1,000 an ounce. So the margin's gone up basically about $800 an ounce since we started working on this feasibility study. That's if you take the $1,000 an ounce as a baseline. So it's a great time for a project like this. I think Canada's facing renewed energy and hopefully some simplifications in terms of bureaucracy and a renewed focus on resources between what's happened in the US and what's happening in Canada. That we should see revived enthusiasm for investment in this, and I think that the shareholders should benefit from not just the success of the project, but also the increased focus in the space. And I'm always aiming to be, things that can be in the world class zone, which we define as 500,000 ounces a year. I think we can get this one to that stage if we continue to invest in it. So that was my assumptions going in, and that's why we've stayed so focused on this since 2016. And as you know, I left the OR royalty business after 10 years of building that company from $500 million to $5 billion. To go and do this, there's more. My passion is more in the exploration development side than in the financial engineering side, which we've proven we can do. But this is my preferred sport.
I like that analogy you used about real estate management, but that was a great detailed overview of what's happening at Osisko Development. And Sean, as we wrap up, maybe you can just tell our viewers what they can expect in terms of news flow in the coming months.
Sure. So we're ODV on the New York Stock Exchange and on the TSXV as well. The main exchange has been the US one. The bulk sample results will be coming out. The updated feasibility is probably the next item to come forward. We're hoping to have that completed here in Q1. We'll probably just publish the numbers first, and then the final report will probably take until Q2 to actually publish. We're working on project finance opportunities now that we're permitted. So stay tuned on that front. But we got a whole lot more friends with a permit in our hand than we did before. So we are also very focused on that. And for anybody that knows me, Jimmy, it's I'm always about build it, they will come. So our goal is to keep pushing up the value curve as far as we can for shareholders. But this project is also, it's top 10, I think, listed by several analysts right now in terms of acquisition targets. So we're dancing that dance, the seven veils in terms of where the project fits in the space. But having a permit and being over 200,000 ounce year producer with legs to go to 500,000 is a pretty rare asset, especially in a jurisdiction like Canada at this point in time. And I think this ends up being a world-class asset with the right work and the right amount of capital, and we're trying to bring to bear that capital to get that work done as quickly as we can. So we'll continue to that. We'll also do some more drilling in the underground to sort of firm up some of the zones that we think can be easily documented. And then if we hit a porphyry copper gold system that looks like Bingham in Utah, Jimmy, I'll call you from the Four Seasons, because we'll be entertaining partnership offers if we were to do that. So we've still got that big lottery ticket out there. And my favorite thing to do in the morning is coffee and drill results. So we're enjoying life right now in terms of being able to do what we like to do, which is drill for undiscovered wealth. That is a brownfield camp. That's downtown. It's got lineage. It's got genetics. It's the biggest mineral endowment second largest mineral endowment outside of Bingham in all of Utah. That area, not just the one that we're in, but also the one that Freeport and Ivanhoe Electric have. So we're a pretty good company in that pursuit. So it's Osisko, Ivanhoe Electric, and Freeport going at it. And lots of drill bits flying around, lots of diesel getting spent in terms of trying to get these geological mysteries figured out. So I think that could be a big one. And then who knows what happens in Mexico right now. Hopefully that moratorium on open pit mining gets resolved here in the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, that was a great wrap up, and I'll be waiting for that call, Sean. And once again, I want to thank you for spending time with us today.
Jimmy, thank you very much, and all the best of luck to your viewers and with their investments. And feel free to give us a call. We're on our website, osiskodevelopment.com. Happy to take questions, and our website's pretty fulsome, and there's a good video tour of the mine site out there as well. And for history buffs, the Caribou Gold Project also has a historic site that has live actors in the summertime. So it's a great destination if you want to take your kids and your family out and show them what historic mines. It's the old Barkerville mine site, town about 11 kilometers away from us. and we'll be happy to host anybody that shows up at the door and wants to get a little tour.
Once again, Sean, thank you.